Hey everybody, it's the end of the year, holiday season for 2025. Just wanted to stop, take a moment, say thanks. Thank you to all the viewers, the racers, and the league admin staff. In mid-2025, I decided to stop focusing on the other channels I was helping out and turn my focus back to this channel. Although this channel's been around for a while, the focus has been on other channels, and this is where I really turned my focus back to solely on this channel. That said, with your help, this channel's grown over 400% in this year alone. It wouldn't be possible without all you tuning in, showing up to race and watch. Of course, this also isn't possible without our amazing great staff here at Racer Nexus. Rich and Stan and I have worked together for a number of years, but alongside them, we've brought in Adam, who handles a lot of the oval racing, two young up-and-coming voices in Mac and Emmett, and just this past week, we saw the premiere of the duo of Chris and Alex on Tuesday evening. We also have a couple other voices in the background working on getting more focused for the channel in Austin and Alex W. So 2026 looks like it's going to be a great year too as well. So again, thank you to all who've tuned in. Greatly appreciate it. Lastly, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, as it goes a long way to getting the channel out in front of other viewers and racers like you, so we can continue to bring you this great content. I hope to see more of it growing in 2026. So happy racing in 2026. We hope to see you all on track. Have a good one.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the newly renamed Breaking Bad Pushing Limits GT3 series. I'm going to be your host tonight. My name is Brian Zinn, and I've got my producer and commentator Rob Campbell with me as well. He's a little bit under the weather, so I'll be covering most of the action tonight for you folks at home watching. Want to start off by saying thank you once again for tuning in and watching. But tonight we're coming to you live from beautiful Watkins, Glen, located near the Seneca Lake in upstate New York. Watkins Glen, it was home to the Formula One United States Grand Prix during the 70s, and now it's currently home to the IMSA WeatherTech 6 hours of the Glen, as well as the NASCAR Cup Series. It's three tiers for the trucks, the Xfinity, and the Cup cars. But tonight we've got some GT3 action for you tonight. So go ahead and strap in. These guys have about 5 minutes left in qualifying, and let them get wrapped up before we head into the race action. As I said, upstate New York, so cool conditions usually. Right now, air temp 68 Fahrenheit or 20 Celsius for you non-American viewers. Track temp is going to mirror the air temp, 68 and 20. Partly cloudy conditions, humidity 45%, light breeze, so no headwinds or tailwinds for these guys to be dealing with tonight. But Rob, yep.
Go ahead, Zin. I was just going to say that, yeah, Watkins Glen in upstate New York, it's actually, you know, I take a lot of flack from some of the guys that we race with that always take like the rag on Bow Sport as it's being more or less the closest track to me. And a lot of guys either love it or hate it, but Watkins Glen isn't that far, actually. If I were to drive on the average Toronto day and try and go across Toronto, it would probably take me just as long to get to Bow Sport as it is to Watkins Glen. So I'm going to claim it as my second home track here tonight.
Well, those are two pretty fantastic tracks to claim as your home track. So I just have Circuit of the Americas, and that's about it for me. So I think both of those tracks would clear COTA. But since it is your home track or second home track, why don't you kind of walk us around the nature of Watkins Glen here?
Well, let's see. We're on board here with Kenneth Copings. He's going to head across the line here, Zin. So really important. I think actually this is probably one of the most important corners on the track, not necessarily just for overtaking, but just for getting a good run. Because if you don't get a good run up through the S's, anybody who's raced here, we've raced here tons of times in the number of leagues that we're in together. It's one of those tracks that always seems to come up, but you don't get a good run through the S's here, you're out to lunch, because everybody's going to get a run on you heading up here into the bus stop. You're going to lose at least one position, possibly two or three, depending who's all in behind you. So again, turn one, I think probably the most important corner on the track, which, you know, you can say it for a lot of tracks, but I think by far Watkins Glen, that is the most pertinent corner. But getting in and out of the carousel here, what we see Kenneth heading into now, can be tricky in some cars. The GT3s anymore, they have a ton of downforce on them, even though they're not necessarily a downforce car, as if you were comparing it to an open wheel car like the Formula 3 Super Formula. Well, obviously your Formula 1 car is the epitome of downforce, but these modern GT3 machines have so much downforce on them, you can really throw it into the corner. And then, to me, correct me if I'm wrong here, Zin, if you don't agree, I believe this corner where they're coming up to right now, I think it's corner 7 or 8, I can't remember exactly which it is, but as you're exiting out of the boot, probably your second best overtaking opportunity. If you get a good run up the hill, use that draft, come down, you can move to the inside and make that pass. And if you can't get that done at this point in time now, you're just kind of stuck in behind that car until you get to the straight where you can try and take that overtaking opportunity again into turn 1. As we see Kenneth coming into the penultimate corner here, he's going to bring it right out into the wall, and then he's going to finish up a lap and see if he's able to improve. Right now, sitting in 9th place in qualifying.
Yeah, as you said, Kenneth coming across the line, currently P9, 2.9 seconds back. Looks like he is going to improve.
And he's going to improve, and unfortunately for Kenneth, isn't going to pick up another spot. He's going to be stuck in 9th place right now. But we have a number of drivers that haven't set a lap. Looks like they're going to try and start from the back of the field here tonight, Zin. It's always a dicey situation when you try that.
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, turn 1 is a pivotal corner, but the chaos corner, as I'm going to name it tonight, is the S's. Those real high uphill left-right quick corners that you have right after turn 1 always seem to have a magnet for chaos at Watkins Glen in these races, especially with close packed like GT3 tends to create, or a Formula car or Porsche Cup car, for instance. So we'll be interested to see if our racers tonight can make it through the S's on lap 1 cleanly. That is no small feat, I should mention. But with 53 seconds left in qualifying, as Jeffrey Strong comes across to finish another lap and move into that nice place spot, taken away from Kenneth Copping, let's run through your provisional order. We got Jed Cotterman at the top of the charts with a 144.532 currently. Jeff Sanders is a little over a tenth and a half back in second place currently, and then it's a bigger gap down to Terry Vincent in P3. You got Fares Ibrahim in P4, followed by Chet Miller, and then Stephen Fleury and Brendan McCurdy behind them. Then you got Jamie MacArthur, Jeffrey Strong, and Kenneth Coppling rounding out your top 10 at the moment. So as these drivers wind down, finish up their last laps, about 10 seconds left on the clock. We'll see if that order shakes up any. But a little bit of a smaller field tonight, but this is round 3 of this new season, and already had some action take place in race 1 and 2, and we've got the championship standings at the moment with Jeff Sanders currently leading, and then he's got Jed Cotterman close behind in second place, followed by Aaron Sanford, Terry Vincent, and Michael Prince round out your top 5 in the championship. So a lot of close battles for these guys, and even though we are only 2 races in, it will be a tough battle all the way through to the end of this season.
Yeah, with only 3 more races in the season, I believe, if I remember correctly, it's only a 6 race. I think maybe it's an 8 race season. I can't remember off the top of my head. So every point is going to matter here as we get a little farther into the season here is in. But looks like timing and scoring just kind of clicking over here. Just going to need to give it a quick little reset. We can have a look at how things are going to shape up. Oh, sorry. It looks like they have a warm-up here. And unfortunately, for some reason, iRacing doesn't give us the grid until after the warm-up's done. So we'll take a moment here. We do have a sponsor that's sponsoring the last, just a quick look, 5 races of the season. So it is an 8-race season. So we'll get the sponsor shout out here and acknowledge them and thank them for covering the last of the broadcasting here in the season. So it's EPCO Forestry. They're a family business which was founded in 1961. EPCO is proud of being Southeast Alabama's most trusted timber dealership. The goal is to provide quality timber harvesting services and complete reforestation practices. They're located in historic Eufaula, Alabama. EPCO has been a big partner with landowners in the area to provide advanced timber harvesting practice methods to meet their goals. So if you want to find out more about them, you can find it at www.epcoforestry.com. And again, we thank them for covering the broadcasting fees for the rest of the season. And then we have our usual sponsors for the season here on our channel, Track Cams for Gourmets, Track Cams 22, bringing you all the IMSA-like camera action. You'll find a lot of the camera shots similar to what you might find on the IMSA broadcast coverage. That's his goal. That's what he sets out to bring you each and every track, whether it's IMSA, IndyCar, Formula One, or NASCAR, depending which series is there. So Track Cams 22, and then again, Apex Sim Racing. You can find yourself a nice little 5% discount code in the description of the video. Use that along with the referral link and pick up something there at Apex. Doesn't have to necessarily be their own products. Anything in store is available. Again, Apex Sim Racing, discount code in the description of the video there as well. So that's going to do it for our sponsors here, Zin. So our driver's out on warm-up. I think it's just a 3-minute warm-up if I remember correctly. So about 30 seconds or so left to go in the warm-up. Give us your thoughts here on Watkins. What kind of strategy would you put forward on a 60-minute race?
Yeah, well, first and foremost is going to be surviving lap 1. Like I said, the S's in turn 1 tend to be chaos magnets, at least in my experience. And so, to finish first, you must first finish, as the saying goes. And so I'm going to look for these guys to be have cool heads and make it through cleanly on lap 1. And then from there, to me, it's just going to be about pit strategy. So these guys will have to make a pit stop. They cannot run the full 60 minutes on the fuel load that they have. I believe they have it capped at 65% fuel, if I saw that correctly in the Discord discussion this week. So, but there is a lot of time to be made up if these guys do some fuel saving, especially in their draft, or just doing lifting and coasting with all these corners that they've got. So, we'll be interested to see if anybody latches onto those strategies or not. The GT3s have the new iRacing tire model. It's a fantastic model. And so warm up or cold performance will be critical. Definitely easy to spin on lap 1 cold tires, as we saw last week. A few guys got caught out by it. And so from there, the tire life is pretty manageable. So especially with these cool track temps, I'm not expecting a high degradation race or anything like that. To me, it'll be a fuel mileage rate for me.
So they didn't update the tires this season on the GT3s, right? I didn't actually go through and look at all the notes to see if there was any updates. I saw the post about the GTP tires getting updated. I think it's in a couple weeks for the start of the Daytona 24-hour race. But the GT3 tires, if I'm correct, are still the tires from last season that they updated them. There was no more tweaks this season.
Yes, that's correct. So this is now the second full season with this new NTM version 10, I think it is, for the technical name of it. But yeah, it's the most advanced or latest and greatest tire model that iRacing's put out. First it came to their types, now it's on the GT3s and GT4s. So definitely not something brand new that these guys are dealing with, but all the same will catch you out if you are completely unprepared for it.
Yeah, it's to be honest with you, I haven't been driving much at all the last few seasons, so I haven't tested the new tire setup a whole lot. I've done most of my driving's been in the week 13s of the last couple seasons, so I haven't really seen how they've progressed over the season. But looks like warm up just about to finish here, so we'll give that a minute to reset, and then we'll take a look here at our grid here, Zin.
Yeah, absolutely. As these guys are gridding in, and we'll be led away by that gorgeous Chevy Silverado pace truck there that you see. But we're going to have Jed Cotterman starting P1, followed by Jeff Sanders in P2, then Terry Vincent and Perez Ibrahim on row 2, followed by Chet Miller and Stephen Fleury in 5th and 6th on row 3. Then you're going to have Brendan McCurdy in P7 and Jamie MacArthur in P8 on row 4. Row 5, you're going to find Jeffrey Strong in that Red Bull Ferrari, followed by P10 and Kenneth Copping. Then you got Dennis Crosby and Jesse Chase, the first of our non-qualifiers, in row 6, followed by Doug Betts and Robert Nelson in row 7 and 13th and 14th, respectively. And that is going to round out our field. So 14 cars tonight. Still pretty good turnout. And while these guys are pulling away, we will take this time to mention that if you're interested in joining this league, it is capped at 1,500 I ratings, so it suits guys that don't do a lot of officials or maybe starting out on their iRacing career journey. And you got nothing else to do at 10 p.m. on a Saturday night, feel free to find that Discord link in the video's description, and then read all the rules and everything, and get on track yourself and get featured in a broadcast here on Racers Nexus.
Absolutely. So yeah, they are always recruiting, which is always nice. There are some leagues that we have on the broadcast to take a certain number of racers, and then that's it. Luckily for them, they get enough of those entries in that they can do that and cap it off. But then we have leagues like this that are fairly new, as Brian mentioned early on. Name change this week, a little bit of a management change too as well, with Jed Cotterman taking over the reins from the league, along with Faraz Ibrahim, who was one of the admins earlier, where I believe Broughton Jones and Mr. Anderson have backed off a little bit, kind of relinquishing some of the day-to-day operations over to Jed. So we'll see if that helps them grow a little bit more. But it's always, as you mentioned, is in a little bit of a tough category to try and find drivers. One being time slot, and then again with the 1,500 I rating cap, which it lends more to, as you said, a beginner racer. Somebody doesn't necessarily do a whole lot of officials. They may focus more on league racing, which is perfectly fine. If you're a guy who maybe doesn't have a lot of time to devote to officials, putting in the practice to get yourself up to pace sometime, you just want to drop into a league, half an hour, 45 minutes before the race starts, put in some laps, get going in the race. League racing is perfect, and this is probably the perfect league for it.
Absolutely, and from what I've seen in the Discord discussion throughout the week and so forth, it seems like a very supportive group of, trying to get guys resources in place to be able to improve their pace, improve their skills, and overall that improves the quality of racing that we get the privilege of broadcasting for these guys. So it's a win-win-win scenario in that regard. I've had my fair share of terrible official races, so I definitely see the appeal of doing leagues only. Not to say I haven't had some bad league races, but they're much fewer and far between than officials. So league racing definitely has its place on the iRacing service. So kudos to these guys for catering to a portion of the driver field that can be kind of lost through the cracks sometimes, I feel like. So definitely, if you're interested and you're watching the broadcast and you want to join in, like I said, the Discord description is going to be or the Discord link is going to be in the description of the video, I should say. But these guys are about to finish their pace lap here, coming out of the final corner, ready to take that green flag. We're going to see that Chevy pace truck peel off here right now. The field is in the hands of the number 7 Porsche of Jed Cotterman. We are green, 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 as everybody is going to file 2x2 down into turn 1 here. Remember, it's a 60-minute race. We're going to see who is eager and who is patient. So far, so good. A little bit of 3 wide back there. Stricter track limits this season at Watkins Glen, along with the graphics refresh with all the new colors of the curbing and so forth. But they're going to file up into the S's for the first time on cold tires. Remember, this is one of the spots that I highlighted as a chaos magnet. Everybody so far seems like they've made it cleanly through, though. So well done to those guys. They're jockeying for position down around 8th, 9th, 10th, going 2, maybe even 3 wide back there into the bus stop for the first time.
Yeah,
Cotterman and Sanders.
Having a look here is in at timing and scoring. I'm not seeing anybody off track. No incidents. So well done. Slow clap to all 14 of our drivers getting through first half of the lap here with no incidents. But Jamie MacArthur, man on a mission here, up 4 spots already. He's moving himself up into 4th place.
Yeah, that Bugs Bunny Corvette is a rocket ship at the moment. Definitely picked his way through the field, moving up from 8th to 4th at the moment. Got a little bit of a ways to go to get to Terry Vincent and that number 1 BMW ahead of him, but good start for Jamie MacArthur so far. And as you said, everybody keeping it clean, which is a tall task at Watkins Glen. So kudos to these guys. You've done better than a lot of official races and league races I've been in, so well done. But Jed Cotterman and Jeff Sanders, 2 of our stars from last week, going at it again. Cotterman said last week that Watkins was one of his favorite tracks. He could drive it blindfolded. So no surprise that he qualified on pole, and he's pulled out a almost a second lead already over Jeff Sanders after just one lap. But got some guys that are giving that wall a little bit of a kiss coming out of the final corner as we complete lap 1, and everybody's still going forward. No yellow flags, no meatballs, nobody diving to the pits. So well done to everybody from first down to 14th.
I kind of wish maybe we had the ability to go out with a paintball gun here right now, Zin. Just kind of pepper the windshield of Jed Cotterman's car and see if he could drive it with a blindfold on here. See if we could hold him to what he claimed.
Yeah, go talk to Jed's family and see if maybe they can unplug his monitor or something and see how he does. But reminds me of those little shorts that F1 would put out of the drivers would go trace the outline of the track with the finger and try and figure out what track they're at or something like that. So we'll have to come up with some sort of task to do as like an in-race interview or maybe pre-race interview or something like that. We'll have to think on that.
Absolutely. We got a good battle going on here for this is 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. Currently looking at Jeffrey Strong is holding down that 9th place. Gets Stephen Fleury just ahead of him, but Crosby and Betts right in there, ready to capitalize something to happen. So these guys may be a little farther back in the pack, but they're going to battle tooth and nail here, Zane, and not give up any position for anybody.
Yeah, Ford versus Ferrari. Where have we seen this battle before, right?
Absolutely. Let's hop on board here with the Mustang. Who doesn't love hearing the Mustang roar around Watkins Glen? I think it's probably one of those combos that just fit. It just meshes the way it is. But right now, Crosby got some work to do. He's fallen back a little bit off of Jeffrey Strong, but Jed Cotterman, our pole sitter, still comfortably out front, just under a second gap now over Jeff Sanders. Worked a little bit of a gap that lap now, but Raccoon Sim Racing for Jeff Sanders. That's a sharp-looking paint job on that thing.
Yeah, definitely. I love the color scheme that Jeff's rocking on the McLaren. I loved it last week when I saw it for the first time, and definitely easy to stand out in a pack, which is what you want for a livery. And it's as cool as Jet Cotterman is in front with those color changing LED headlights that the Porsche has. The livery on Jeff Sanders' McLaren is definitely top notch, as we saw him take all of the curbing going into the bus stop there. As I said, Watkins Glen got a refresh in this season, so it's new curbing, new track limits, the updated curbs for the bus stop that they have in real life, and for the first time that I can recall, it changes based on if you're running the NASCAR configuration or the sports car configuration, which is really cool to see on iRacing after all these years.
Oh, really? I didn't know that they actually added that in. That's kind of neat. So you get I guess it'd be the less severe curbing for if you're running NASCAR, correct? I believe they run a little more lenient curbing where it's not quite as sharp, where IMSA, it's a little more out into the, I guess what you would call it, the racing line through there, and it's got more of a shark tooth type of edge on it, if I'm correct.
Yes, and then if you run the Cup layout, the track limits do not exist for Turn 1 and some of the other paved runoff areas, and so as NASCAR does, the wall is the track limit. So if you run a Legend car or GT3s on the Cup layout, you get the same benefit. So it's not car specific, it's just track layout specific. And Coda was another one of those that got the same thing. When you run the Cup layout at Coda, it gets rid of the turtle sausage curbs through the S's, which I wish they would do for all layouts because nobody uses them except F1, but I'm not going to get on my soapbox on that one.
Well, we don't want you to fall down off the soapbox. So
I am quite clumsy, so that's a good move.
The first issue would not be getting up there, but we got a heck of a battle here going on for 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. We saw Jamie MacArthur really send it into turn 1, almost got into the back of Terry Vincent, currently hold down 3rd spot, but that cost MacArthur a bit of time. He's actually fallen back a little bit right into the clutches of Chet Miller, but Faraz Ibrahim kind of sitting right back, watching what's going on here, ready to pounce if something were to happen.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm Faraz, I'm probably enjoying being in the catbird seat and doing a little bit of fuel save and lifting and coasting behind these guys. So definitely for Chet and Jamie, they're going to use up their tires a little bit more battling here. And Terry Vincent's saying, you guys keep battling. I want to check out a little bit in front of you guys.
Yeah, you'd almost think this wasn't a 60-minute race with the way these guys are kind of battling, but I gotta say, this is probably one of the cleanest starts to a race as far as battles that I've seen in the longest time. We cover a lot of GT racing on Racers Nexus here, and it always seems to be, no matter what the length of the race is, there always seems to be those racers that really have to try and push the limit on the first lap for everything that they can, and usually get involved in something. But we still got all 14 cars on the course, on the race right now, which is excellent to see. And you know what? We're coming up to that 10-minute mark very quickly.
Yeah, 10 minutes have gone by really quickly, as you mentioned. And yeah, the pace of this race, as we see the 007 of Chet Miller, he had to whoa it up to avoid getting in the back of the 75 of Jamie McArthur. Had a slight spin there, but saved it. Oh, and we were just talking about it being clean. Wow, how those guys saved it out of the wall, I will never know. But well done to Chet Miller and Faraz Ibrahim there, because that could have been very, very bad.
Yeah, I don't know. Like you said, I don't know how they made it through there without coming into a 10-car pileup. But that's thrown them right back into that battle where we saw with Strong, Crosby, Betts. They're all in there now, so we got about 6 cars now to be battling it out for. It's going to allow Terry Vincent to get away, Jimmy McArthur as well, but McCurdy, Miller, Fleury, Strong, Ibrahim, Betts, all battling it out now for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th.
Yeah, and I was just about to say that the frantic pace, even with it being an hour race, is kind of imitation, or imitation being the highest form flattery, because you watch a real life GT race, especially a sprint race, which is normally about 40 or 45 minutes, and man, you would think that it was a 5-minute race the way that those guys battled out. But yeah, I guess they didn't like the fact that it was cool, calm, and collected so far, because these guys are throwing hands at the moment, throwing elbows, throwing everything they can at one another. It's gotten chaotic real quick, Rob.
Yeah, it almost looks like a replay of Anthony Joshua beating down Jake Paul in round 6 last night. Right now.
Thank goodness. Sorry if you're a Jake Paul fan, but thank goodness he got beat down there.
There is a higher power, I guess. But it looks like Faraz Ibrahim going to be our first car into pit road. Rough lap there for him. We saw him involved in a number of incidents, so I wonder if he's just going to try and relieve a little bit of pressure here, pull into the pits, cool the tires down, calm things down, get his service in, and get himself back up on the track here.
Yeah, it looked like he did have some bodywork damage on that right front. Not sure if it had some corresponding suspension damage as well that he didn't get a meatball for, but still could be impacting performance, maybe choosing to come in, get a fresh car, and go back out there and fight again. So you hate to see it. Perez was in a strong position and just unfortunately got shuffled down through some hard racing that was going on. But either way, change up the strategy, see how it shakes out here in 50 minutes. But just like that, 10 minutes gone. Where did it go?
Yeah, and that actually broke up a little bit of that battle that we were seeing. Now, each one of those drivers that were really embroiled in that battle, all separated by about a second or so on track now. So, unfortunately, that threw a little bit of a wrench in our battles we had going on, but I won't be surprised if these guys slowly try and find each other back on track again soon.
Oh, no doubt. But while that's all been going on, Terry Vincent in P3, I called him the stealth bomber last race, but he has worked his way almost to the back bumper of Jeff Sanders, and he's currently sitting on the fastest lap of the race, about 3/10 faster than anybody else on track at the moment.
Interesting stuff there. Yeah, we see the fastest lap of the race, lap 5, Terry Vincent, 145.362. And I'm just having a look here at time and scoring. Looks like he's actually going to be fastest by about a whole 3/10 almost over Jake Cotterman, who's hit the second quickest lap of 145.53. So we'll see if Terry Vincent keep working his way up towards the front. But I didn't catch all of last week's race, but I did catch race 1, where I believe, if I remember correctly, Terry Vincent took the win. A bit of a rough race last week, but looks like he's come back strong with a vengeance here in week number 3.
The BMW showing that it's just this, real consistent car no matter what track you put it at. It may not be the outright fastest car or be the flashiest car, but when you need something consistent over an endurance race, the BMW is a good car to go to, and Terry Vincent showing off why there. So we were just talking about him, and kind of a commentator's curse. He's fallen back a little bit from Jeff Sanders there, so apologies to Terry on that one. But and he's lost his fastest lap to Doug Betts. But Chet Miller, he was involved in that scrap with Faraz and others as well, and he's lived to tell a story another day. That's not how that saying goes, but we'll move on from it. But he's currently got the 444 Brendan McCurdy in front of him that he's trying to run down. Takes a lot of curb there going through the, I think that's the heel coming out of the boot there onto the NASCAR track.
Having a look at time and scoring, it looks like, unfortunately, Faraz Ibrahim went into the pits, came back out. Looks like he might have had an incident here. Let's take a look here and see what's happened to him. So he's back out on track on his lonesome. Looks like I believe he's heading into the bus stop. The bus stop. Oh, yeah, he's just going to completely miss it. Pull it off, and I think that's going to be an evening for Faraz. Nope. Yep, there it is. So what looks to look like a promising race early on for him, unfortunately, looks going to possibly end in a DNF.
Yeah, I hate to see that. That was a strong-looking car there for a good top 5, maybe a top 3 if he played his strategy cards right. So, hate to see that, but hopefully he'll come back. I think they're at VIR next week. But talking about Chet Miller earlier, he's gotten even closer to that Mustang in front of him. Battle of V8s here, American versus British. Wonder which one's going to reign supreme here shortly.
Well, are we actually calling it British, though? That power plant is actually German, just a little bit of different gearing, isn't it? It's essentially the Mercedes with a Brit's eyeball as far as the candy on the body shape. But either way, it's a couple V8s, as you mentioned, battling out. One gone with the full, normally aspirated, all-out displacement rules versus it's going to try a little bit smaller displacement, but slap a couple turbos on it in the Aston.
Yeah, both of them, though, make a raucous noise when you're standing trackside, though. So kudos to both of them for producing such great power plants. But Jeffrey Strong here, he's in a battle with... He's in a battle with the wall, unfortunately. That's a hard hit there. Bounced the entire rear of the car off. Hate to see that. Have been
Doug Betts, I think that was, in the McLaren up the inside of him there. Let's see if we can take another look at what happened here from the blimp. Get a little better. Oops. Let's get a little better look at what happened between these two drivers here. If I can get the replay queued up. There we go.
Yeah, looks like Doug was trying to make a move there and just kind of drifted out wide a little bit, and 2-into-1 does not go, unfortunately. And Jeffrey Strong gets the worst end of it. Yeah, hate to see that. That was
like shaping up front here, though, is in. With these top three now separated by only 7/10.
Yeah, Jed Cotterman, he had that big lead over Jeff Sanders, and both him and Terry Vincent have reeled him back in. I don't know if that's the knock-on effect from the pace that Terry Vincent had, and Jeff Sanders said, okay, I've got to kick it in high gear here to avoid getting past, or if this is Jed just maybe managing tires, managing fuel, maybe. I don't know. But regardless, that big gap is slowly becoming no more.
I just was taking a second to respond here to GT Racer 88 in chat. They mentioned another Red Bull car gone, which is correct. Both Faraz Ibrahim and Jeffrey Strong were both rolling around with some Red Bull paint schemes here this evening, and I responded back, but I guess Red Bull didn't give them wings here this evening. So there we go. Unfortunately for those two Red Bull cars, I guess the Red Bull was that.
Well, the
code of shame engine transfers over.
Yeah, the deck lid and rear wing of Jeffrey Strong's Red Bull took wings and took flight, so he's got that fixed and repaired though. So I guess got wings in the wrong manner, a manner you wouldn't like. I don't know.
He needed some wings to fly him away from that wall, and unfortunately it didn't work. But he's been back out on track. I'm not sure offhand. Do they get one or two quick repairs in this series? Do you know?
I think they have 2 faster pairs. But
so as far as
gotta...
Cats and 9 Lives, they've got 2. Jeffrey Strong has used up one of those this evening.
Yes. But speaking of lives, Doug Betts, he was involved in that incident with Jeffrey Strong. He's got a windshield full of a Ferrari in front of him and mirrors full of a Mustang behind him. So that Ford versus Ferrari battle that we had at the beginning of the race, Doug Betts goes, I want to get in the middle of that.
He must not have liked the movie. Had to insert the McLaren in the middle, try and force a little bit of action here. But looks like Robert Nelson had an issue. We'll take a look at that in a few moments. But this battle looks like it's going to kick off here something fierce in a matter of moments here. As Doug Betts looking like he's trying to get through Stephen Fleury rapidly, not willing to wait around too long. Keeps looking left, looks right, but right now Fleury making that Ferrari as wide as he possibly can.
Yeah, we were coming into one of those passing spots you highlighted, but oh goodness. Yes, he had a big moment there. He's clattered into the wall with the front end of that McLaren. That is a big accident. Oh, no. Goodness me, that could have been
terrible for Jesse Chase.
Yes. Poor Jesse Chase, just minding his own business, almost got a McLaren thrown at him there.
I almost think we need to see what Jesse Chase saw here as he came around the corner. Let's see.
Nothing good, I can tell you that.
Mind his business, and the Code Brown moment here. Thankfully, Doug Betts saw him come at the last minute, I think.
Yeah, Doug, I believe, can be expecting a dry cleaning bill from Jesse after that one.
As we head back here to Brendan McCurdy and Chet Miller. Chet Miller's been unable to get around, and we saw him close up on McCurdy. I say it must have been about 3 or 4 laps ago here now he's in, but he's been unable to find a way around. So McCurdy doing what he needs to do with that big old Mustang. It's already hard enough to get around that big car as it is, but the Aston not a small car itself either. So a couple wide body machines here rolling around on track.
Yeah, definitely. You know, it was interesting when Ford first announced that they were going to make the Mustang as their GT3 car of choice. I wasn't quite on board with it. You know, you think of McLaren and Porsche and, you know, Aston Martin, and then you think Mustang, and you're like, yeah, do those really go together? But I you know, after seeing and hearing the car in person, I'm a huge fan of this Mustang GT3 car. So well done, Ford. You did pick the right car after all, and I'm happy that we've got a big rumbly V8 after Corvette went the Ferrari route with that nasally mid-engined flat plane crank V8 that they've got in the Corvette. So you know, I not grew up, but first races I went to were the C6 and C7 Corvettes, and then going to the C8 was a big letdown from a sound perspective in my mind.
You find I'm kind of the complete opposite. I do love the roar of the Mustang and the Aston and the Mercedes, but I don't know, there's something about that high revving V8 flat plane sound that I just love it. I don't know what it is. I can't get enough of that, Zid, so give me as much flat plane Corvette action as you can get.
Yeah, I guess my perspective is skewed because I remember the high revving, you know, Ferraris of the 430 era and the 458, and, you know, I'm just ticked off at Ferrari neutering their car with the turbos and the V6 instead of the V8. So I guess it's the most Ferrari sounding car that we have. It's just kind of funny that it's coming out of the back of a Corvette product.
Yeah, well, I guess realistically you can take it, say it's Ferrari-esque front end and that thing too, as we see Jeff Sanders get a first challenge for top spot in the race here. Sanders looks to the inside. Cotterman going to defend. He'll have the inside line into the next corner here now. So we'll see if he can hold off the charge from Sanders, and Sanders going to fall victim to Terry Vincent, who shoves that big old BMW nose up the inside, tries to force Sanders out wide. Too wide coming into the penultimate corner. Sanders going to back out wisely, realizing there's still about, we got 40 minutes, just under 40 minutes to go in this race, so no real point to get involved in a race-ending collision here. But that's going to allow Jed Cotterman to open up almost a second gap over these two drivers now.
That's the unfortunate downside to cars battling, is you lose time to the people in front or the people behind you. So kind of have to weigh the risk there, and Terry Vincent calculated correctly as he's moved up into second place ahead of Jeff Sanders and his number 30 McLaren.
Yeah, we'll see if Sanders able to recover. Just having a look there a moment ago, I had up on the screen the fastest 5 laps, and we can see Terry Vincent the quickest lap. Jeb Cotterman now had fallen down about 4th or 5th quickest lap. He's moved himself back up into second quickest lap, but Dennis Crosby, look at that, up into 3rd place now for quickest lap. So the Mustang driver a little farther back. Oh man, as we see him bunny hop over the entry curb into the bus stop. So that's going to be probably a little bit of undercarriage damage on the bottom of that Mustang now. So hopefully it doesn't compromise his pace, but he's been looking strong and fast out there, as in with his last lap, a 144.89 last time by.
Yeah, he was second fastest guy on track that lap, and Dennis Crosby has found out that you can't get track limits violation if you're going above the track limit. So Air Mustang is what we're going to nickname that one tonight. Definitely using all of the curb going into the bus stop, but surprisingly, it was very stable. It did not look to get very squirrely once he landed off of that. So maybe the Mustang is handling those curbs a little bit better than some of these other cars tonight.
Yeah, he went full Travis Pastrana Hoonigan over that curb with the Mustang. So Ken Block would have been proud of that one. So a little bit of Mustang, see the sparks kicking up on the back of McCurdy's car. That's probably one of the, you know, there's always a comparison online and chat online about which sim is better. There's this one versus that one, as far as graphics, as far as physics. And you know what? For my money, iRacing does I'm gonna say the little things better, as far as throwing up the sparks, you know, the spoke from car spinning, dirt, you go off track, you have that dirt kicking up, and the tire marks in the grass and the dirt. I think it's those little extra things that actually make it just that one step above all the rest of them. You can always get into the argument as far as multi-class racing and content and that, but those are the little things that I think kind of make it just that one step above the rest of them.
Yeah, I definitely agree. You know, something that always amazes me, and it's a good tool to use as well if you're, you know, doing the thing of looking ahead, is, you know, that smoke, as you mentioned, from cars spinning. You know, you'll actually see it waft away, you know, up above the fence and so forth. And so if you're a few corners behind, you'll actually see that smoke in the air, and you're going, hey, something happened up there. You know, and if you've got, you know, teammates, say in an endurance race or something, you can tell your guys, hey, go check ahead. You know, is that guy still there, or is he back rolling, or did he tow, or whatever? So I definitely agree. You know, from a realism or an immersion perspective, it's those little things that to me give the edge to iRacing. You know, they suffer in some areas, but I would say every sim has its pros and cons. But I definitely think iRacing wins that one for sure.
Absolutely. It looks like we might have an issue here between Doug Betts and Stephen Fleury. I almost said Mick Flurry there. I got McDonald's ice cream on my mind. But Doug Betts.
Man, now you got me thinking about that. Thanks a lot.
Doug Betts, Stephen Fleury. Let's take a look here and see what happened here. He's around board Doug Betts. Oh, just exiting out of the bus stop, heavy into the wall.
Oh no!
And then it looks like it's gonna roll back on track. So it's the second time we've seen Doug Betts go around, having a little bit of issues with that McLaren this evening. Let's take a look at what happened to Stephen McFlurry here.
Yeah, looks like might be a carbon copy of Doug Betts in this corner a few laps ago.
And again, right in front of Jeffrey Strong. That's twice he's been the man on the scene, with a car spinning just in front of him and be able to sneak by both times. So he might be counting his blessings right now, and I don't know how many more times he can quickly make through that without getting involved in anything.
Yeah, was that Strong or was that Jesse Chase? Either way.
Oh, maybe it was. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Jesse Chase. That was the other Ferrari. Jeffrey Strong was the Red Bull car. That's correct.
Yeah. But Jesse's going, guys, why me? What did y'all pick names before the race started and my name got drawn? But yeah, I mean, hey, Jesse Chase, props to him. He's just riding around doing his own thing. He's up 4 spots with all these guys having mistakes. So, you know, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. And that's not meant to mean that Jesse's not good, but sometimes it takes luck to avoid these accidents. Ask me how I know.
Ask any championship winner; they'll tell you half of it's luck getting there.
Yeah, I'm missing sorely on the luck side lately, unfortunately. But looks like Jamie Arthur, I saw in the back of the shot there, dive into the pit. So got about, what have we got, 20 or 33 minutes to go. So could be closing in on pit stop cycle for these guys.
Yeah, we get close to the halfway mark. So I think you said, what, 65% fuel they're allowed to run? So that should get them, if I remember correctly, when we were doing GT3s at 40% or 45%, you get about 28 to 30 minute mark. So they should be able to get close to about 40 minutes or so on a fuel load here, I would surmise, maybe even a little longer.
Yeah, so maybe Jane just going for the massive undercut strategy. Figure he got to however long he needs to go to be able to top up into the end, and said, okay, I'm going to pit and see where I make out from there. But was running good before the pit stops. We'll see how everything shakes out after everybody else in front of him goes through their pit cycle. But he'll drop down to P8 temporary. But Jeff Sanders, he was running P2, trying to chase down Jed Cotterman, but now he's trying to run down Terry Vincent instead. And Terry Vincent, in turn, is trying to work his way up to Jed Cotterman. If you recall, when these two were battling, they fell back almost a second and a half to Jed Cotterman. That gap has come down to under a second. So Jed's hoping that these guys can battle once more. He can build that gap back up, but for Cotterman, he was our pole sitter and said that Watkins Glen was his favorite track and his strongest track. He's sitting and showing why he was saying that, and even with the challenge from both Terry and Jeff earlier, has maintained the point. Speaking of Jeffrey Strong in that Red Bull Ferrari.
Oh, just lost the back end. It's kind of the theme we've seen here tonight, Zin, with a couple of drivers losing the back end. So I'm wondering, I believe they're actually running open setup in this league. So I wonder if there's a few guys that are, got the car trimmed out a little too much, underestimating the amount of downforce they're taking into these corners and losing the back end.
Yeah, definitely. These guys will have to get that figured out, and it certainly wouldn't be the first time that we've both been in races that conditions changed between practice and the race. So looked like there was a car off or some smoke up ahead of these guys.
Yeah, it might have been this here. Stephen Fleury, he's been flagged a couple times for crash. Oh, man. I'm not sure.
Oh, this isn't going to be soft.
That corner.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, that was, it almost looked like he just forgot where he was on track and just cooked it into the bus stop.
Yeah, cooked is the descriptive word there indeed. Just absolutely no braked into the bus stop, which is not going to end in a soft hit anywhere. But Jed Cotterman,
you had mentioned there, Zin, not long ago that Vincent and Sanders were caught up to Cotterman, but fell back a little bit when they were battling, but looks like they've managed to reel him back in.
Yeah, just like we saw last week, Terry Vincent, very steady, very consistent pace out of him, and Jed Cotterman, a little bit less consistency, or maybe just the strengths of the BMW showing through on a long run here compared to that BMW. Track temps and air temps have not changed from qualifying and practice, so these drivers, as I mentioned earlier, are not dealing with changing conditions between what they were practicing in. So again, for Jed Cotterman, it's either the pace of the BMW starting to, I should say, the pace of the race shifting to the BMW, or perhaps just a difference in strategy of Jed maybe not running at 100%, doing some fuel and tire saving, versus Terry Vincent saying, I've got nothing to lose, I'm going to push 100% and try and get all the way up to the front.
Yeah, now I know you've driven the Porsche. This would be Porsche. I know you're a enthusiast on the Porsche side. I know you've driven the Porsche a bunch, the same as I have. Well, actually, it's probably the main GT3 that I've driven over the last 2.5, 3 years, I'd say. I've always found it's a car that does better on full to mid fuel. Once you get into the low fuel portion of the race, the front end is just so light, it just doesn't want to turn. And if you mismanage your front tires for the race up to that point, you really get a whole lot of understeer. And it's starting to look like Jed Cotterman's starting to feel that here a little bit, where it looks like that car pushing out a little bit wider into the corners, where the front engine machine of the BMW of Terry Vincent, it has that extra weight all the way over the front end, where it can continue to cut in and actually lose a little bit of weight on the back end where the fuel tank is, for that car kind of, turns in even better as the fuel load goes down, versus the Porsche, which turns into a little bit of an understeer machine.
Yeah, absolutely. As we saw Jeff Sanders in the background peel off, he's going to try the undercut on these two in front. But yeah, and the BMW's gotten some tweaks over the last couple of seasons too, as they've gotten updated data from BMW directly with some of the suspension geometry and some of the engine power band settings as well. And I was in a league and I was doing the BMW for that one. The Porsche is still better on the brakes, but as you said, with that fuel tank up front, as opposed to kind of more in the center of the car in the BMW's case, as that fuel burns off, the weight comes off the front axle of the Porsche. The Porsche does a lot of its best work when it's on the brakes, because with the aero load over the front axle, that's where you do your turning. It's kind of a bit like a front-wheel drive car in that regard. You brake and turn off of the same inputs or the same point in the turn. But as we see Jed Conway having to work around the lap down car of Brendan McCurdy here, definitely doesn't want to spend a lot of time getting past him and yield time to Terry Vincent. Terry Vincent going to force the issue and go with him. He doesn't want to get the lap car splitting him from Jed in front. So well done to Brendan McCurdy there to stay wide and let the leaders go through and do their thing. So well done there.
Oof.
But yeah, Terry Vincent pushing hard coming out of the boot there. He's on the attack mode right now.
Yeah, I suspect we'll see these drivers into the pits in a matter of time. They're the only two cars left soon that haven't come in for their fuel cycle. And having a look here at pit stop times, looks like everybody in around the low 20-second range. Actually, looks like a couple of drivers under 20 seconds. So I'm wondering, we've got Chet Miller, Jamie MacArthur, Dennis Crosby, all around 23, 26 minutes. I wonder if those drivers took tires as well.
Yeah, and we saw this last week too, a difference in who took tires and who didn't. So definitely could be doing that, or just letting iRacing do the auto fuel calculation versus maybe using a Race Lab overlay or something that's handling the fuel calculation instead. So but going back to this battle, man, Terry Vincent is not letting up. He is putting all kinds of pressure on Jed Cotterman, and I would say that this is the most pressure that Jed's had all race.
Yeah, he had a fairly clean start. He was able to break away early on when the green flag came out. And then, as you mentioned, we saw Sanders and Vincent really close up into him. That battle they had, dropped them back. So Vincent be able to close that gap in again. So we're really going to see the difference between these two cars and see who can really work it on the lower field. It'll be interesting to see once they come in for their service where Jeff Sanders cycles back in. So we see a challenge for the lead here with Vincent looking to the inside. But again, same spot where Sanders tried to make the move on Cotterman. Cotterman holds that inside line. In the next corner, he's going to hold on to top spot.
Oh no, Terry Vincent. Oh no. Just spun up the rear tires there, exiting the boot there. Oh, and he's going to bang the rear wing off of that BMW. Oh man, that's a shame to see. Going to knock the trunk off for good measure too.
Yeah, I suspect we'll see him pop in to hopefully he doesn't lose it in this corner here. Probably doesn't realize he has no rear wing or trunk on this thing. The car definitely a lot lighter, so yeah, he's going to pop in for his service here. So thankfully for him, Zin, that happened in the penultimate corner, so he's able to pop into the pits, but that's going to allow Jed Cotterman to open up a little bit of breathing space here again. But as I was saying, it's interesting to see where Sanders cycles back through, whether he had a quick fuel stop or if he was a little longer on his stop.
Yeah, and I was going to say before Terry had that moment there that battling and the pressure that he was putting on Jed would have slowed them both down. And Jeff, he's working in clean air at the moment. He's able to run uninhibited on his pace, and so he very potentially could cycle in front of Jed at the end of this pit cycle here. But Jeff has gone by pit exit. Terry's still sitting in the pits, unfortunately, so it seems like he is come out worse for wear. after that incident, which obviously the time loss from the spin is going to hurt him.
Yeah, absolutely. There we see him exiting out of the pits. He's going to have a cone-to-cone time here of for Terry Vincent, 58 seconds, 26 seconds in the stall itself. So I suspect he probably took some tires too as well. So we'll see here if Sanders, actually I'll take a look. Sanders, I'm going to say no tires for him, 19-second stop. I believe it's a minimum of 22 seconds for tires on GT3. So we know Jeff Sanders didn't change his tires. Terry Vincent probably did. What's Jed Cotterman going to do?
Yeah, and I'm trying to remember what he did last week. I feel like you've got to do the no tire call if he's any sort of aware of what Jeff did, and Jed had to be very cautious on making sure he made it under pits. That could have been easily a 40-second stop and hold for unsafe pit entry if he didn't make that cone there. But Cotterman in for his pit stop in service. So now we watch where Jeff Sanders is and how long Jed's going to be sitting stationary in his pit box.
Yeah, I'm having a look at my track map here now. Sanders is, where is he? He's heading into the penultimate corner here now, heading to the final corner. So we'll see if it looks like Cotterman going up on the jack stance. So it looks like he's going to stick with his tires he started with. Here comes Sanders around the final corner now. Cotterman still in the stall, should be leaving here shortly, but I think Jeff Sanders is going to actually take over top spot here. There it is. So now we'll see if Cotterman able to summon that pace that he had early on here is in to reel back in Sanders. It looks like Sanders is going to get comfortably out front to about 6 seconds. So as you mentioned, that battle between Vincent and Cotterman looked like it really did cost him a ton of time here.
Yeah, and also looking at pit time, the time that they were stationary in their box. Sanders, as you mentioned earlier, 19.63 seconds, but Jed Cotterman had a 27.0 second stop. So we saw that he didn't go up on the jacks. So either that was a iRacing replay glitch or he just took a lot of fuel there. So have to wonder if maybe Jeff didn't take enough fuel or everybody else just took way too much fuel.
It's an interesting observation. We'll have to keep an eye on what happens there. Because, yeah, Cotterman, 27. Looks like our only drivers really that didn't stop in around the mid to high 20-second time is, looks like Doug Betts
Both the
and
McLarens.
Jeff Sanders. So, yeah, the two McLarens. So, it's just going to see if maybe the McLaren just aren't quite burning as much fuel here as everything else. I wouldn't suspect it'd be that much less. But our driver of the day right now so far is in Dennis Crosby, up 8 spots into 3rd place.
Been an absolutely fantastic race tonight. Started down in 11th. He's currently sitting P3 after all the pit cycle shenanigans and the other action that's happened in front of him, and kind of a little bit of a bubble at the moment. He's got about 8 seconds up to Jed Cotterman and about 2.5, almost 3 seconds Chet Miller behind him. So he was in that battle with Chet earlier in the race and seems to have been able to drop the Aston from being behind him. So definitely a strong performance out of that 22 Mustang.
Yeah, Chet Miller, we last saw him battling it out with the Ford of McCurdy. McCurdy falling back quite a bit here now into 9th place, where Miller continued his charge forward up 1 spot from where he qualified into 4th place. But as you mentioned, unfortunately for him, about 2.4 seconds back at Crosby, although he did take a bit of a chunk out of that gap, and it was almost, I think it was 2.8 seconds almost. And you were referencing it earlier, now down to 2.4 seconds, almost 2.5. So we'll have to keep an eye here on Chet Miller, see if he can continue to close in that gap on Dennis Crosby.
Yeah, it looks like he was about 0.8 of a second faster than Dennis on that last lap. So definitely where a lot of that gap closure came from. And going back to the McLaren discussion, I remember when I ran it earlier on, this was before the tire update, but when it came to fuel saving, it was very easy to fuel save in the McLaren. So I'm curious if maybe Jeff and Doug are keyed into that, and both were doing that and were able to not have to take as much fuel. We'll see how that shakes out. We've got under 20 minutes to go now. Man, the time has flown in this race, hasn't it?
Yeah, we've been I don't want to say lucky, but we've been privileged to have a number of battles all throughout the race up until this point. And I always find I've said it before. I know leagues like to have the pit stops for the realistic aspect of it, running in, taking the fuel stop. I find the pit stops always break up the battles because you always get a driver that gets in and off maybe a second or two quicker, or somebody has an issue getting in and off pit road. And yes, I understand it's part of the race, but it always seems to break up the battles. Where after the pit stops, you don't necessarily have as many battles as you would have had beforehand. So I'm always, I think pit stops should be maybe saved for races that are over an hour to 2 hours, somewhere in that range. If you're an hour or less, I think, you know what? Do the race with no pit stops. Keep those battles going all race long.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you because this is very similar to what happened last week. Was it was great action up until the pit stops, and then after the pit stops, it was maybe one or two guys that were able to close back in and resume the battles that they had pre-pit stop. But yeah, I find that the pit stops work for whether it's a car combination or just the overall skill of the driver. I'm trying to think of a better way of putting that, but because the general idea, I think, when people look at pit stops in league races, sprint races like this, 40 minutes or under, is the gaps, the battles were there. Assuming the pit stops are the same, the battles will be there afterwards. And the problem is that the pit stops aren't always the same. You got guys that either don't have a good in lap, are slower getting down to pit speed, or just take too much fuel, or forget to uncheck tires, something. We've all seen it. We've all had it happen to us. And so that just throws a giant wrench into things. And, I would definitely like to see a 40-minute race. And iRacing official is this way too. You can't do the 40-minute, GT sprint race without having a pit stop because you don't have enough fuel. And I would like for one season, iRacing, if you're listening, one season for us to have a 40-minute GT3 race without pit stops and see what that results in.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It'd take, I guess some tracks would take the strategy out. I'm thinking of a track like Long Beach where you always get the aliens who somehow seem to be able to lift and coast around Long Beach enough to save enough fuel where they don't need to stop. I don't have the skill to be able to do that. I have a decent amount of skill lifting and coasting, but at Long Beach, I've never been able to find a way to do it, and it just drives me crazy when I see these guys being able to do it. But yeah, or I think maybe if you were going to go with pit stops, maybe force a tire change rule, so everybody has to have at least a minimum. Well, if you're doing GT3, your pit stop's going to be at least a minimum 22 seconds, right? In that amount of time, you should be able, in an hour-long race, you should be able to get enough fuel, get the tires changed in that 22-second time where, everybody should be able to come in. It's a matter of just clicking the tires before the race even starts. When you're on the grid, setting your fuel to whatever and being done, right? Maybe that's a way to kind of keep the battles together in a pit stop race.
Yeah, I think that's a good hybrid solution. Because then, especially with this new tire model, guys are going to struggle for a couple laps on getting up to temperature. And so then you have that additional element of, do you pit early and get your tires hot by the time everybody else in front of you pits? And so while they're struggling on cold tires, you're still able to attack because you've got hot tires, that kind of dynamic or additional element of strategy to play with. And that's why I kind of like the idea that people have floated around on the forums for several seasons now of having a tire limit on the endurance special events that iRacing has. Because right now the tires are basically free during the pit stop because fuel and tire change happen together. But we'll see. iRacing is supposedly working on a lot of the road race control management stuff and so forth. But coming back to this race, Jeff Sanders, man, he is taking control of this race after the pit stop cycle, after spending all of the first half of the race chasing the back end of the number 7 Porsche of Jed Cotterman. He's built himself out to an 8-second lead. And that's been your only lead change of the race so far.
Yeah, Cotterman and Crosby are pushing, though. Crosby last time by 145.38. That's a full second quicker than what Jeff Sanders was. So I'm wondering now, we both mentioned it now, that one of the quickest pit stops was the two McLarens, one of Sanders and Betts. where wonder if maybe Sanders is having to lift to coast a little bit here, try and fuel save to get himself to the end. We know for the most part he was in and around draft for the first 30-35 minutes of this race, where he would have saved a little bit of fuel. Now he's out in clean air, going to be burning a little more fuel than what he was there. I wonder if he's not able to push the envelope here a little bit. We'll take a look at his lap time as he crosses the line here now. We'll see if he's able to answer back. He does with a 1:45.66 that time.
Yeah, looking back, looks like he's got the lap down car of, is that Jeffrey Strong, maybe? Is he the one in that? Yeah, he's the one Red Bull. So maybe the slower lap time, the 46 lap time, came from just having to get around the lap down car there. But either way, Jed Connerman, he's got that gap down under 8 seconds. So as you said, pushing hard to try and make up the time lost from the 8-second difference in pit stop time. And that's just the time in the box. It's nothing of cone to cone. And Dennis Crosby, he's pushing hard to close in that gap. It was over 7 seconds. Now it's down to about 6.5 at the moment.
Yeah, Crosby still with a bit of time to play with here, as we got just under 13 minutes to go in this one. So what are they running? 1:45. It's probably going to be about 5-6 laps maybe to go. So still a bit of time for him to try and potentially catch up to Jed Connerman, but 14 seconds back at Jeff Sanders. I don't think he has any illusions of trying to take this race unless something were to happen to Jed Sanders up ahead. So right now it looks like Ken Connerman chased down Sanders without being chased down by Crosby at the same time. But just behind them, Chet Miller continues to try and chew into that gap a little bit here. He's had it down as far as 2.3 seconds on Crosby. Now it's going to work back up to 2.6, 2.5 seconds. Kind of ebbs and flows a little bit here, depending which corner they're in or which straight they are, which part of the track works a little better for that Mustang versus the Aston here. But this may be the biggest potential we have here for a late race battle, is Miller trying to chase down Dennis Crosby up ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And when we first talked about those two, that gap, I believe, was over 4 seconds. And so definitely Chet is pushing hard to try and close down and battle for that final step on the podium, as he's currently P4 and Crosby's occupying that precious third spot. But, you know, talking about the at this top of the race with the kind of parameters that the league has, you know, the iRating cap and so forth, you know, I got to give it credit to both the drivers and also a little bit to iRacing's balancing of the cars. Just looking at the best lap times for these guys, and they're all really close to one another. And, you know, sometimes the iRating doesn't quite give an indication of a driver's talent. You know, I know several people that are low iRating but would be quite higher if they did a lot of official races. But, you know, these guys are all running within a second, 1.2 seconds of each other, which is really hard to do. So kudos to these guys. Kudos to iRacing, too. I mean, we have a great variety of GT3 machinery out here. Everything from front engine, naturally aspirated V8s to rear engine, flat sixes, and everything in between. And so just really well done to everybody involved.
Oh, see Kenneth Coping losing the back end of that Mustang into turn one. Oh, he bumps the wall, shoots back out on track, but somehow he able to keep his rear wing. So
hey, the iRacing patch notes were correct. They did fix the strength of the rear wing mounts on the Mustang. So well done, iRacing. That used to be like the deployable tombstone in Death Race, if anybody's ever watched that movie.
But as we've seen, unfortunately, on the Ferraris, it seems like and the BMW, seems like they loosened them off on the trunk hinges and the wings themselves. But yeah, I've always been a proponent of. I've always thought iRacing's BOP is fairly competitive for the most part. There's been seasons where it's been just terrible, but I think for the most part, the last few seasons it's been pretty balanced out. Now, when you get up into the 7, 8, 9, 10,000 iRating drivers, any couple tenths here and there, they're going to be able to expose, and that's what it really comes down to. You know, a car can make a difference, but I think if you're somewhere in the 50% range or 75% range of iRacing drivers that are somewhere between, say, 1,000 iRating and 4,000 iRating, you're really not going to find much difference from one GT3 to the next. So it's nice to see that the cars really don't have as much effect as they have in the past.
There was just a big incident with the 22 of Dennis Crosby. He is in the wall. I'm not sure if he had it coming together with the lap down car of Stephen Fleury. Oh no. Oh. That is a terrible way for Crosby to lose third place there.
Yeah, that's unfortunate there for Crosby. Let's see if we can take another look here at what happened there. Is he was chasing up on the back of Fleury quickly. I don't know if Fleury realized he didn't have a wing or what, or maybe that car wasn't there, but as you mentioned, unfortunately, third place driver Dennis Crosby wrapped up in that. That's going to give Chet Miller third place. So we mentioned we saw him trying to chase down Crosby. It's probably not the way he wanted to take third place, but he'll gladly take that final step on the podium.
Yeah, and looks like Brendan McCurdy has caught Jesse Chase for P6. That's a battle that has been brewing for a couple laps now. But yeah, just a terrible shame for Dennis Crosby to come up on that lap down car. And he was expecting, given the state of Fleury's Ferrari there, that he would have gone wide and just let Crosby go. And Fleury obviously was of the mindset that he was going to maintain the racing line there. And the two met at one spot and physics did its thing. But such a shame to have a good race from Crosby taken away by that incident there. But Brendan McCurdy, also in the Mustang camp, he's trying to come out on top of yet another Ford versus Ferrari battle here tonight. There's been quite a few of those. But purple versus green, the neon color battling as well. Jesse chasing this Tron Mobile. With the lunge from way back there, it makes it stick. Jesse Chase, I'm sure, is sitting there saying, I want no part of this. I am just going to try my race. I've had enough Code Brown moments tonight. I just want to survive. And Brendan McCurdy is saying, thank you. I will take advantage of that and move my way up into sixth place.
Yeah, it looks like, as you mentioned, Chase really wanting to just see the checkered flag here tonight after that one, but McCurdy wasn't going to need to be asked twice if he wanted that position. He was going in there, and that was that. But Jeff Sanders comfortably up front, has that gap now almost to 10 seconds over Jed Connerman. So 145.10 last time by for Sanders. Connerman 145.102 as well. So identical lap times for our top two drivers here is in. That's exactly what Sanders needs to do. He can even afford to drop a couple seconds off his lap times here now and still be able to get to the checker flag in top spot. No real need to push it for Jeff Sanders.
Yeah, Jed ran that 102 the lap prior, and so Jeff was answering it as Jed's last lap as he crossed 10 seconds back was actually 147.8. So not sure if Cotterman had some traffic trouble or just had a bad lap trying to maybe catch a slide or something. But either way, he was pushing to try and close up. He'd gotten the gap down under 8 seconds, but now it's over 10 seconds. So perhaps the tires on that Porsche just given up versus the McLaren is proving to be much better at tire management tonight.
Yeah, it's something I've always found with the McLaren anytime I've driven it is it does seem to be fairly easy on the front tires where, you know, a lot of the mid-motor cars generally tend to be a little better on tire wear compared to say the front engine cars where at the start of the race you're really scrubbing the front end because you got so much weight all throughout the car, and then the rear motor car, the Porsche, as we mentioned, where you know it's sharp and it's very agile under full fuel, but as that fuel burns off, as you mentioned, Cotterman might be experiencing that as well now with the front end just kind of really wants to push through the corners and understeer, where your mid-motor cars like the Corvette, the McLaren, the Ferrari, we don't have any Audis or Lambos in the field here this evening, so it's actually surprising. I thought the Lambo was it seems like it got a little bit of a balance of performance buff this season from iRacing.
Yeah, like we were talking about before all the latest action went down. You know, the BOP is overall pretty solid. I know people like to complain last season was a Mustang Cup, but I think a lot of that was down to people just looking at the top split results and seeing that all the esports and alien guys were running the Mustang, and we're like, okay, well, obviously the Mustang must be good, so I'll run the Mustang, and not necessarily because it was the most comfortable thing. And like you said, for the middle 50% of racers, you look at it as like a bell curve. The people under the biggest part of that curve, the BOP is not going to make a difference. It's going to be comfortable, your comfort level driving the car. So and I think this league is illustrating that perfectly. If you can't be comfortable driving a car, you're not going to be fast in it, and it's very easy to just blame the BOP instead of going, I just suck in the car.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm wondering if maybe as iRacing expands their staff, something that I saw that they were kind of touting, either it was in the development update or it was just before the written update. They mentioned they've added even more staff. I can't remember what the number of staff they've had now, but some of the other simulators, they actually take in the balance the BOP from week in, week out, depending what track it's at and which car is a little more prevalent to be the quickest car on track there. So it would be nice if maybe iRacing got to that point where it would kind of eliminate, as you mentioned, the Mustang being the OP car last season. A lot of that is going to come down to which tracks are on the schedule that season. Now, obviously, with iRacing going to 4 GT3 series now, it would take a lot more work to balance that across all the series. But I think after a season or two, they'd have a nice database of what adjustments they made, and it'd just be a matter of plugging it in each race. As we see Jeff Sanders, a little bit of connection issue there, blinking out quickly, but it'd be nice to see if maybe that's something they could implement in the future.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, iRacing, like a few other studios, announced that they had hired some of the folks that were laid off that worked on Forza Motorsport as well as Project Motor Racing. Both of those studios going through downsizing, unfortunately. Terrible time, the holidays coming up, but iRacing, Rises Studios, and LMU all announced that they had hired some of those folks. So good to see, good, talented people still getting to stay in the industry that they've worked in for quite a while. But yeah, I mean, iRacing, with all of this work that they've done, has massively increased the staff working for them. And of course, that's awarded them the ability to do what they've been able to do over the last several seasons and continue to push the envelope. And I've heard from some folks that have connections inside as Jeff Sanders here comes across the line to take the white flag. He's currently maintaining a 10.8 second lead over Jed Cotterman, but I've heard from several people that we should soon, hopefully, hashtag soon, is the running iRacing joke, but that new graphics engine that they've been talking about for a long time is supposedly nearing completion and ready to roll out. So I'm hoping in 2026 we'll finally get to see this sim take the next giant step that they've been working on for a couple of years now.
Yeah, you know what, I've got mixed feelings about the new engine, only because you've seen the onslaught of new sims. It seems like in the last couple of years we've had LMU, we've had Rensport, we've had a set of course at Evo, we've had a set of course at Rally, Project Motor Racing, and there's always seems to be one issue with all of them. There seems to be constraints on the graphics engine that they're using, where it always seems to be an issue when it first comes out, and it needs a number of months and updates and to get it back up. So hopefully iRacing doesn't have that issue, because I would hate to go through, that the learning curve that we had to go through with all those sims when they came out. But our leader, Jeff Sanders, a couple more corners to go here for him. He's going to take the checkered flag. Well done here tonight by Jeff Sanders. Really put on a clinic after the pit stop. So that quick pit stop, he was able to take enough fuel load, didn't need the tires, just push forwards in. He's going to come across the line to take week number 3 here in the GT3 Showdown series.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff Sanders out here playing chess while everybody else was playing checkers, apparently, with the early pit stop, and then also taking just enough fuel needed to make it to the end, having a 8-second faster pit stop at least over Jed Cotterman, who has crossed the line to take P2. And Chet Miller, he was pushing hard to take P3 and ended up taking it through bad fortune for Dennis Crosby, but he's going to come home in the final step of the podium, and Jamie MacArthur in that 75 Bugs Bunny Corvette, he's going to finish in P4.
And we have our other McLaren driver, Doug Betts. Looks like he's going to be able to make it to the line too, so maybe it was just those McLarens sipping a little less fuel here tonight, Zin, where it allowed them to have that quicker fuel stop and get to the line, but he's going to come home in a 5th place finish, up 8 spots when he qualified, so overall, nice run for Doug Betts.
Yeah, absolutely. He was in some of those scraps early on as well, and managed to survive them, played the pit strategy very well, and ended up with a top 5 for his efforts, as we see Brendan McCurdy come across the line here in 6th place.
And we hop back to the Tron-esque paint theme here of Jesse Chase, a driver who has had a multiple Code Brown moments here tonight in this race, so no doubt he'll be hopping in the car, going to change his pants as quick as he possibly can tonight's in and get himself into some clean britches. So looks like we're just waiting for Jeffrey Strong, and then that should make everything official. Oh, no, sorry, he is a lap down. So with Chase crossing the line, that's going to make this one official. Take a look at our final results.
Yeah, as we saw, Jeff Sanders is our big winner tonight, coming home just over 10 seconds ahead of Jay Cotterman in P2. And rounding out the podium, we find Chet Miller in that 007 Aston Martin. Coming home in 4th place is Jamie MacArthur. And then rounding out top 5 is going to be Doug Betts. And then Brendan McCurdy, Jesse Chase, and Jeffrey Strong round out your last of the finishers. Dennis Crosby, after that incident he's going to drop all the way down and finish in 9th place, and Kenneth Copping is going to round out the top 10. Terry Vincent, he was looking strong earlier. Not sure what happened. Oh, that's right. He had the incident as well. Unfortunate for him in that number 1 BMW. He's going to fall down and finish in 11th place. And then Stephen Fleury, the other half of the party involved with Dennis Crosby, he's going to come home in P12. Robert Nelson is going to finish in 13th, and Faraz Ibrahim had that disconnect early on. He's going to finish in 14th.
Unfortunate for them, but looks like we have a couple of drivers in the booth here waiting to talk to us. But let's first bring in our race winner, Jeff Sanders, to catch up with Brian Zinn.
Yeah, Jeff, absolutely dominant performance after the pit stops there. What was your game plan when you were battling with Jed and Terry before the pit stops?
I was just trying to save fuel. That was just about as fast as I could go just to keep up with them, and I was in the draft, so I thought, well, I'll try and save fuel and see what happens later in the race. They were both really fast.
Yeah, absolutely. You three were just in a whole separate league, it seemed like, for the first half of that race. But you had a much faster pit stop there than Jed or Terry did. Talk us through that pit stop. I don't believe you took tires, but it seemed like you took way less fuel than everybody else.
I'm not sure about the fuel, but it put in exactly what the fuel calculator said, and you're right. I didn't take tires. I think that's a big deal here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it seemed like the McLaren was making good use of the tires that it had, and like I said, you seemed like you were playing chess there with the way things shook out after the pit stop. You came in several laps before everybody else that you were fighting with, but looks like moving on to next week, you're going to be at VIR. How are you feeling going over to Virginia next week?
I've raced there a few times. It's been quite a while. Fun little track though. I don't know how it works in a GT3. Last couple of times I've been on it was a little bit slower car. I've been on it in the GT3, but it's been a couple of years, so not much to go on there. Gotcha.
Well, before we let you go for the night, any Any folks you'd like to shout out or give thanks to?
Everybody. I mean, the two guys, Jed and crap, what was his name? Doug. Just they ran real clean, predictable, and it was enjoyable racing so close with them for so long. And
Awesome.
my regular teammates.
Well, congrats again on the win tonight, Jeff. Fantastic performance, and we'll look to see if you can back it up next week at VIR.
All righty, I hope so too. Thank you, guys, and thanks for broadcasting.
Absolutely. Happy holidays to you, Jeff, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So it was race winner Jeff Sanders. And I say that we got Jed Cotterman now in the booth. Jed, you started on pole. Unfortunately, a little slower fuel stop compared to Jeff Sanders. You were unable to come back out in the lead. Did you take tires on that stop? We were having a look, and it looked like the car didn't go up on jack stands, but we weren't sure if maybe you took tires and it just wasn't showing it on the replay itself.
No, definitely didn't take tires. I had a software issue. I'm spoiled using Dre, or the digital race engineer, for my fueling, so I can just concentrate on driving. And I didn't realize it wasn't working until I looked at my fuel, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it hadn't even started yet. So I had to pull up the black box and click auto fuel, and the rest is history. So I guess this is a textbook choke on my part, but hey, it is what it is, We live and learn.
Sometimes they just don't go as planned, but it looks like just before the pit stops there, it looks like we were seeing a great battle between yourself, Sanders, and I think it was Terry Vincent before Vincent had that spin and basically ended his race. But it looks like Vincent was putting a ton of pressure on you there before he had that incident. Were you feeling like you were able to hold him off, or was it a matter of only time before he was going to be able to get around you think?
Honestly, it was just a matter of time. He was so much faster in the bus stop. He just ate the curbs and carried so much more speed. And I'm typically a Mustang guy in my other leagues, so I wanted to switch something up. I run the Merc in one, and I wanted to do something different. Well, anyway, I'm still kind of getting used to this Porsche, and the bus stops bit me one too many times, so I'm kind of skittish through there. But nothing but respect for those guys. They always race me clean, and he was gonna get me. There was just no ifs, ands, or buts around it. The BMW is so strong around here.
Yeah, you mentioned the Mustangs. We caught Dennis Crosby, I think it was, a couple times heading into the bus stop, actually going four wheels in the air, bunny hopping over the curb and landing. It looked like a snapshot out of a Hoonigan video. So nicely done by him. But we head to VIR next week. How comfortable are you feeling taking this Porsche so you're getting used to into week number 4?
Well, I'm gonna put some time in. You can rest assured I'm gonna do what I can for that. I love VIR. It's one of my favorite tracks. So I know my way around there. I know the line. It's just gonna be getting comfortable with the Porsche there. But I look as humbly as I can say it, I'd look for another podium. That's always my goal. But VIR should be a really good race, I think.
Yeah, it's VIR is one of my favorite tracks. I know a lot of people either love it or hate it. I think a lot of it has to do with there's no real runoffs. Once you get up on over the curbs into the grass, you're going for a ride. So it'll be interesting to see next week at VIR. But you mentioned it earlier on the broadcast. You're obviously racing, you didn't catch it, but you've recently taken over kind of day-to-day operations of this league. So get your shout-outs here, and if you want to throw out any kind of mention here for the league, potentially people joining in. I know we've mentioned a couple times you're always recruiting, looking for more drivers, so we'll give you the floor here to give us a little spiel about the league.
Well, first and foremost, I absolutely love going back and watching the broadcasts. I actually kind of smiled a little bit when I saw your name in there, Emmett and I just drew a blank.
Mac.
The other guy, Mac. Yeah, they've been doing stellar, absolutely fantastic job. So kudos to them. You guys just do a hell of a job. The product you turn out is fantastic. So kudos to you guys for broadcasting and representing the league in a way that not many people could do. So my shout out is tonight is just to the drivers. I mean, it's a late night league, Saturday nights. There's plenty other things to do, but we've got steady 14, 15 guys that are really respectful and just want to show up and have some fun. And I know I have. So my shout out's just going to go to the guys in the league. We are recruiting. I'd like to get closer to a 30 car grid. But it takes time. We're going through some new things and just revamping stuff and advertising a little bit here and there. And I know you help out tremendously with all of the leagues and whatever that you broadcast for. So that's about all I got tonight, man. I'm gonna go to bed. I got to get up and go to work in a few hours. So we'll see you guys next week. BIR.
Excellent stuff. Appreciate all the kind words too as well, Jed. And if you're out there, you've been watching, we mentioned it before, if you're looking at interested in joining the league, you'll find their Discord link in the video description. Hit that, join the league, get yourself some fun racing. So hats off to you, Jed. Best of luck next week at VIR, and hopefully we see you battling up again at the sharp end of the field.
Yeah, I hope so. Every time Mr. Sanders beats me, that's just 50 more points in the lead he gets. So I'm gonna try to crawl back a little bit next week.
Excellent stuff. Best of luck to you.
Yep. Thanks, Rob.
So that's going to wrap things up here at Watkins Glens. And as we mentioned, next week heads to VIR. I mentioned it earlier. It's a track, one of the tracks I like. A lot of people either love it or hate it. How are you feeling about the series heading to VIR next week?
Yeah, I think it'll be great action. VIR is definitely near the top of my favorite tracks to drive. It's such a dynamic track. I think some folks have labeled it the Nürburgring of America, and I definitely agree with that description. So we'll definitely be interesting to see how these guys handle it. A lot of passing opportunities, especially in the back half of the track there, but also a very punishing course if you make a small mistake. So something these guys will have to learn how to deal with. It's very much a battling the track as much as it is battling your opponent, but it should be a lot of good fun, and it'll be a privilege to be able to cover it here on Racer Nexus.
Absolutely. And on that note, for Brian Zinn in the booth with me, I'm Rob Campbell. This has been Racer Nexus. We'll catch you next time, same place. Again, go find that link, join the league, get out here on racing, race with us, have a ton of fun, but we'll catch you next week. Bye for now.